Hello and welcome to Uli Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Sagittarius. If Sagittarius is your solar, lunar, ascendant/rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's see what these tea leaves have to say. Okay, I hope you all are doing well. It is super late for me. We had a big day today. It was birthday party. So, I'm up a little late. You might hear some sounds around the house because we're all the baby's asleep, but we're all just kind of getting settled. Okay, so the card for tonight is the Hermit, and this is from the Thoth deck. And of course, we know a hermit is a pretty solitary person. This is somebody who takes their spirituality, their religious work, their magical work, their self-work very seriously. Sometimes it takes stepping away from society, from life, from, the regular kinds of interactions, dynamics, sometimes even family life, to get some spiritual perspective. This can also apply to later parts of your life when your family has kind of grown and moved away, or, you're an empty nester. You get into that retirement age and you have more time to kind of focus on, introspection, contemplation, meditative work, doing the things that you love. And there's a lot of wisdom in the Hermit, a lot of striving towards whatever enlightenment means to you, right? And overall, probably one of the more suited archetypes of teaching others the many paths, right? So let's see how this relates to these formations that we have. Okay, so just kind of looking here real quick. This one up here, this is the formation that really caught my eye, because on one side we have this beautiful bird. I mean, it's a big bird. It looks like it's flying. Okay, and here's the tail and the wings. And if you hear something, it's the cat. There was a moth that flew through. And now he is very intently looking for it. So if you hear some scratching and such, that is him. Oh, excuse me. Now we have the bird flying, very much related to this idea of kind of spiritual freedom, lifting up the heaviness of kind of the worries and being kind of wrapped up in the tedium of superficial life, of worrying about things that are out of our control. Focus on that which, is ever shifting, ever changing, shifting, same words. That which is really, just kind of filler in our lives, the things that get us between moment to moment. And, I vacillate personally between this idea that a lot of things just are, and they don't necessarily, though they have a lot of meaning, everything has meaning, some of it is, you can get lost in the labyrinth trying to figure out why you know, and how to navigate things that end up not really having that large of an impact, right? Or they're just things that we do, you know, the jobs that we have that we just kind of we go through the motions, we're on autopilot. The times in our lives when we're struggling for some kind of meaning, or, you know, it's just really unfulfilling. It just kind of is the stuff that we do, and it, you know, and just kind of going through the motions. But then there are times when we get to these places where, I'm sorry, he's getting a lot of love here. That we get to these places where we do the work. Things align in such a way where their meaning is plentiful, and it is apparent, it is alive, it is showing itself, revealing itself, and those kinds of little thorns that we have in our heart are plucked away, and we feel lighter, we feel free, we feel connected with all the things, right? And just kind of soaring. And I feel that this is kind of the really airy aspect of the Hermit, of those elements, right? Of the elements that that come together to, you know, in measure, come together to create this archetype, which, you know, all the archetypes contain all 4 elements, or 5 elements, however many elements that you kind of, you ascribe to. But this is kind of that airy, thoughtful part. This is that that place where it's the place where we kind of just, you know, I don't know what it is. You can spend a lifetime trying to obtain, you know, this promised idea of bliss or elation, splendor, and that's all wonderful stuff. Those are very brief encounters, I think, that we have, right, with ecstasy. But then there are places where we feel unburdened, right? Where we feel there is meaning. And these are places that are not necessarily those high highs, but these more subtle, enduring configurations of ease in living. You know, where that trouble with being a conscious person, that pain that comes along with awakening, is lifted to some degree, and we are able to navigate ourselves, navigate the realities that we live in, the variety of them. And when we get to this point, it's, you know, it can be a goal, but it's hard to obtain when this is when you're looking for this, right? It's one of those things that you kind of turn a corner and it's like, oh, there it is, right? You wake up one day, you feel just a little bit better. You feel a little bit more motivated to, you know, partake in your routine, to honor your spiritual path, to allot a little more time to that interior work, to those techniques that are helpful to you, right? And so I think it's so interesting because when we turn this, it looks like a tree, okay? And then we have this beautiful formation of, it looks like a seated person right by this tree. And it really gives me this this vision of some kind of sattva, or some kind of devotional being, some kind of student of the way, some kind of beloved of nature, of the natures, somebody who gives himself over to that thing. And that thing I think of as something, if you needed a visual, it would be something like Jacob's ladder. So this is an alchemical theme or motif. And this is kind of similar to the Axis Mundi, or the as above, so below, the micro, macro, mirroring of the different states. And so this ladder leads us into the cosmos, into the place where the divine exists, where it is apparent, right? In the clouds, where that God thing is, right? But then, the ladder goes up and down. And so really the allegory kind of teaches is that this divinity is in all things. It's in every single cell, every atom. You can't escape it, right? But we have these walls up in our mind, in our consciousness, for whatever reason. And I'm not saying this is a negative thing. I think people can get pretty down on this idea of like, oh, we're blind to existence. Well, sometimes we create blindness. And I don't mean physical blindness, but a spiritual blindness or emotional blindness, even a blindness of memory, a loss of memory, because it is a coping mechanism, it is a defense mechanism. Okay, so I try to think of those of us who go through life not being as aware of things going on around. It's not because somebody is not spiritually advanced, they're not on a lower rung. This is a coping mechanism, a coping mechanism that we collectively have, right? Some of us work to kind of figure out what's beyond these traumas, what's beyond the veil, right? And so anyhow, the reality is, I mean, if there is such a thing, that the divine is everywhere. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, that is tied to divinity. And so, Sagittarius, you, I really believe, have this intense energy of being kind of a spiritual rogue, a warrior, and really kind of a badass, right? You are not afraid to step away and really dive down that rabbit hole. Okay, I think that you travel far and wide and deep within, and you go to those places that some people won't. You're not afraid of the dark. You're not afraid of those shadowy places, of those scary things, those ancient primordial horrors, the terrible. I think that you are the kind of being that stands there holding that light to the dark, to the depths, staring right into the abyss, okay? You're brave. You're brave. Nobody can say any different. Now, we have this beautiful goat's head with, it's like a skull, with the horns. And just gorgeous. Makes me think of something like some beautiful, divine, and, you know, sensual Georgia O'Keeffe painting. And, you know, I think of the passage of time here. I think that this is something you think about often. Maybe you're getting on in your years, or you feel that you are getting on in your years. Sometimes you feel that you've been out in the desert for a long while. But, you know, I think that you're not really the kind of person that laments growing older. I think you have lived a life where growing older really truly is a privilege. And I think that you honor that and you embrace that. And there's that wisdom, that deep knowing, that ability to be within yourself. You know, I don't know about anybody else, but I love getting older every year. I even, you know, just round up at this point. I'm somewhere in my late 30s. I've been saying I'm almost 40, or I'm basically 40 for the last 5 years. And, you know, to me, it's like I have survived a life. I've been through some things, and they didn't kill me. They didn't drag me all the way. Well, they maybe dragged me down to hell a little bit, or I, you know, took myself down there, and I had to suffer, right? But I have overcome a lot. And so this age, it is earned. And, you know, I'm not going to feel one little ounce of remorse about getting older. You know, and when I meet other people that are like that, have that energy, oh, you know, of course the body hurts. You know, get tired. I wish I was in bed at 7 o'clock every night asleep, you know. But I've never felt so confident about the things that I do, and, you know, and knowing that I don't really know nothing, or I don't know anything at all, right? Letting go of a lot of these like strands of being that I just tried so hard to hold on to in my younger years. And I feel like we relate in this way, Sagittarius. I really do. And so I'm looking at this skull. I'm just thinking, you know, this is like something that you carry with you. It's like a monument to the things that you have overcome. Okay, the things that have, you know, put scars on you, but you wear them with pride. You're a warrior. Okay, let's see. We have a little heart here. It kind of looks like a heart, kind of looks like a little deer with its head back. I think that there's a little bit of a flirtation, an innocent kind of love, maybe some admiration floating around in your life. Do I think that this is fully activated? Is there some romance going on? I don't know. I don't think so. But there might be. You might have another romance. But this is somebody that, what do they say? Oh, they're sweet on you, right? There's just kind of a nice easy, but not creepy, scary, or overwhelming kind of energy there. Just, you know, somebody you kind of like, you enjoy being around them. They have nice energy, right? And that's always something fun. That's something fun to have, something fun to look forward to. Okay, let's see. Now this one I think is interesting. This one reminds me of the solstice coming up here in just a few days. And I see 1, 2, 3 beings kind of one after another in some kind of parade, procession. I think this is going to be kind of a magical time of relation for you. I think that you're going to really, during this solstice event, I think that in alignment, this will either be in the physical, but more so because it's in the emotional, like the kind of side of the bowl here, the incline of the bowl. I think that this is really some interior work where I really believe that you will have some kind of like psychic visitation, dreams. I really feel this like it's almost intelligences around you. But this could also be really in the real world. I mean, maybe you are a person who goes out and, you know, is like a ceremonial magician, or, you know, somebody who partakes in feasts and, you know, whatever it is that you do with others socially. But I also wonder if this is something kind of on the edges of the perceivable in waking life, kind of more in the borderlands, something that waits, you know, as you go into your dreams, and, you know, follows in procession. I also think that, you know, it's interesting sometimes when I start to have these like, I have these little scenarios or pictures that come up in my mind as I'm talking about these things. And sometimes not a lot, but sometimes I'll get like a real strong smell or taste kind of as I'm talking about something. And this reminds me of pine, like tasting pine needles. Have you ever done that where you're in a like a nature class, or like some kind of like Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, or whatever? They have you kind of smell and taste the pine needle. Well, anyways, I'm thinking of this, and I feel like this energy really has like that kind of fresh, piney taste to it. So I don't know what that means really. It's like almost something like a forest. I think of like maybe the Green Man or Pan. Not really Pan, more like the Green Man. Something that is hard to put your finger on. Kind of, you look into the foliage and you see the faces, you know, the face looking back at you. But as soon as you kind of blink, it's gone. But you know that it's there, and it's wild, right? It's wild, untamed. And anyhow, I am kind of exploring this in my mind as I'm talking about it, and I feel that this feels very you feel it like it's like you're greatly related to this energy. It's like when your family returns to you after some time. They've been traveling, or you've moved apart from each other, and you see each other again after a long time. And they've come back to visit you. And I feel like this is it. It's like returning home, or your home returning to you. And this, I think that this will be evident in some part of your life, even if it's sometimes, you know, sometimes for me, it just really comes through just at those, I'm like washing dishes, looking out the window, and I am overcome with these sensations, these impressions, and I feel like something like this will happen for you. And it will happen soon after you watch this reading. And I think, you know, this will be the catalyst for, you know, some kind of shift in your work, in your creative work, in your writing, whatever it is that you do. And I think that there will be some kind of messaging through this, but I don't know what, you know, that will come through at the same time or through dreams. But I think it's important to write it down. You know, if you've watched my other readings, I talk about this all the time. I think it's important to keep, you know, pads of paper around. Sometimes in my pictures I post, you'll see there are legal pads. I like those yellow pads for some reason, but I write down my thoughts a lot about things coming through, or, you know, just kind of little inspirations or messaging that does come through for me or to me. And so I think, you know, just either writing down words, phrases, lists, or fully journaling for sure, especially if you're doing any kind of esoteric or magical work. Really important to keep documentation, as much detail as you can, but, you know, it's not super necessary. And I think this is just mostly for recall. So, oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting to a point of it's bedtime. Also, I wanted to point out this beautiful sign, which they look like an I a lot, like a lowercase I. But I've been reading them as candles, okay, illumination. So again, we have this beautiful time of illumination. This is like the hermit's lantern, right? And going into those places within yourself that usually one might avoid. But I feel like you are in a place of spirit. I'm sorry, I almost I was trying not to cough there. You are in a place of spirit, aligned with spirit. You are solid, spiritually solid, and just, I think, really ready to go in deep. Okay, let's see. We have a little moth. I don't know if you all can hear that. It's just tapping my light here. I think I must have let in a moth or two when I was bringing stuff in from the car. Okay, so speaking of a moth, we have a little flying creature here. It looks like a moth, and kind of these little, you know, trails, I would say. And I just think, you know, not only is that light very present in your life, that illuminating light, but I think that you really just attract people who are also on kind of spiritual paths, doing self-work. And I think sometimes that can be hard for you to know what to trust about I think it's, how should I say this? I think that sometimes when people approach you or you cross paths with other people who are drawn to your light, I think that sometimes it makes you feel a little bit on the defense. Just not paranoid, but just cautious. You're cautious about relating in these ways. And I'm not exactly sure why. You know, you could be superstitious at what kind of entities are kind of coming into your life through, you know, other people, or maybe you're just very private about your self-work, your magical work. You know, maybe you just don't find it easy to connect with people through that kind of being the point of, you know, of reference for the two of you or the group of you. Whatever it is, I think that in this time period, at least one person will be kind of entering the picture. And how you're going to deal with that, I don't know. But I think they will kind of, you know, be really attracted to your energy, your light, and, you know, so kind of look out for that and maybe prepare yourself for those kinds of interactions. Okay, I made it through. The silly thing is I really just love doing these readings so much. I sometimes wish I could just go on and on and on, but excuse me, I am so tired. It is late for me. Okay. I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. I am so sorry that I have yawned. It's been just such a long day. If you've ever had a birthday party for a toddler, you know it is quite an ordeal. So anyways, you'll have to forgive me. But I'm always so honored to bring these messages to you. And if you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps us get into the algorithm. We as a community are growing here at the channel, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing that too. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos come out. Every week I read once for each sign. So in about 7 days from now, the next Sagittarius will be out. In the meantime, you can watch your other placements, your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising, and do some cross-watching if you want. Other than that, if you want to leave a message, I read every single one of them. I really do. And, you know, I try to get back in a timely manner. Sometimes it's a little longer. Sometimes it's immediately. It just depends on what's going on over here in my crazy home. But anyways, I want to thank you. I appreciate you. We will talk again in just a few days.